This is episode 39 of the Double Cross Anime podcast. And what a special episode it is. This is our top 10 anime series of 2018 discussion, video, conversation, I guess.
Yep,
I'm Wooper, and I'm joined, as always, by Mario.
Mario. I'm Mario.
That's right. Do you wanna take it from here? You wanna kind of
Uh,
lay down the framework of what this episode's going to be like?
all right. So in this episodes like the special episodes, it's like for me now it's like the 30th of December, so it's like just 2 days before the New Year. So yeah, for the end of this episode, we're gonna do like our top 10. First though we're gonna talk about the genre, what we think about the 2018 in anime in general, and then we do some honorable mentions,
Mm-hmm.
and then the top 10 of the year.
All right. So, how do you feel about 2018 in anime?
I All right, so compared to all this year that come before, like 2017, 2016, I think this year is a bit of a letdown. I couldn't like really find any like classic, quote unquote classics. Um, it is a strong year for comedy, anime comedy, and this is I think people will remember this year for a year that the Netflix originals anime like come come in full force.
Yeah, I guess that's true. Huh. I
Yeah,
didn't consider that. But what did we have? Aggretsuko,
yep.
Aiko the Incarnation, Be the Beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Devilman Crybaby,
right, yeah, that was a big one. And there have been
and
a bunch
what
more like Sword Guy, stuff that nobody
Hero
cares
Mask.
about.
Yeah.
Hero Mask didn't somebody make a comment on the blog like Hero Mask is
Oh
the
my.
anime of the year?
Yeah. I watched the first episode of Hero Mask. It's just terrible. The main guy, the main police guy, actually his name is James Blood. Like they didn't even hide the fact that like this guy is like influenced from Jim
Well,
Bond.
there's not necessarily anything wrong with that, right? I mean,
Uh,
if the show is totally obvious with its influences, that's okay. They could be making
eh,
some sort of commentary on like a really strong central super suave character like that.
well, yeah, but it's not that good.
I see.
Just and yep. So it's bring a like a fair share of basho as well. But yeah, I mean like do you like all these anime original from Netflix? How you feel about them?
I mean,
About the
one of
way,
them is in my top. Two of them are in my top 10.
yeah. How you feel about the way the Netflix do with the anime originals?
I I, I don't know. It's fine. They pay people to make anime and they put it up on their streaming service. I really don't have a problem with that.
All right,
I,
I still have some of the issue with that actually.
what's the issue with it?
For one thing, it's the streaming issue. So it's like they just uh some of the show they keep that for like 6 months, a year before, like after it screening.
Oh, right.
So like
They don't
it's
simulcast it.
yeah. So like it's kill on the momentum of the show that it might have. For the original show, I feel like it's more like a ritual. So it's more like what been popular in 10 years ago, or like 5 or like 20 years ago, like even like Devilman Crybaby, it was like classic back in the 1980s or 70s.
I don't see anything wrong with people wanting to
Well
make
it
anime that aren't like,
Yeah, well,
isekai whatever
uh,
bullshit 2018. It doesn't all have to be the same. There should
yeah,
be different kind of stuff getting made.
well, yeah, that's I agree, but I feel like they just they a bit too, like to follow the classic right now. I want something like more
What about Aggretsuko?
new, more exciting. It still feel like the early 20 uh 2000s stuff.
Hmm. Okay.
You mean Aiko, right? Or you mean Aggretsuko?
Aggretsuko.
All right. No, that actually pretty good actually. Yeah, that's yeah. But it's like just like the one show that like different from the rest.
They've put out a
The
lot.
exception of the knob.
They've put out a lot. I don't know. I feel like you could pick out one or two other things that they've done that aren't exactly like everything else.
Mm.
But I didn't watch a lot of it, so I couldn't tell you what those might be.
And I think this is a year where isekai was really bad. We have like
It's a
many
little bit
of
redundant.
these. Yeah, well, we have some of the classic quote unquote again before like ReZero or even Tanya. Why are you laughing?
Wow, what a couple of gems.
They were.
Okay.
And this year we have like the Slamp, but actually pretty good from what I heard.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
I haven't seen that either.
I would say 2018
And
was a year of me not watching very much anime.
oh wow, that happened to a lot of people as well. But how you feel about the year in general?
It was fine. I don't know. What do you want me to say? That it like wasn't as good as 2012, but it was better than 2015 or something like that? I don't know. It was fine. Anime came out. Most of it I didn't really like. I guess
Do you enjoy the year?
like overall or in terms of Japanese animation.
In terms of anime? No, I mean in terms of just anime.
I don't know. Like to be honest, I don't think any TV series from this year, with the exception of Sangatsu, which won't be in either of our lists. We're kind of making it a rule to exclude that because we both loved it a lot last year. So no need to beat a dead horse.
Yeah.
With the exception of Sangatsu, I can't see myself really coming back to anything from this decade. When it's time for us to make like our big old list of, all the best series from 2010 to 2019. Nothing I don't think would be in contention for like a top spot from this year.
All right, so you're even more like negative than myself.
I guess like I really don't. Sometimes watching anime just feels like a chore, like a hassle, like an obligation. Because a lot of TV anime series now more than ever, with so many being made, they're just like products. Maybe it just feels that way to me, but I'm seeing like a lot of really terrible background art. It looks way too clean. A lot of lazy character designs. I don't know. I am not a big fan of like anime in general. I guess it's not often that I get excited for a new series. I'd say didn't get excited for a lot of new stuff this year.
Say the guy who actually do check out like all these anime from the yesteryears.
What do you
like
mean?
You do, yeah. You do check out like all these anime from each year back to the 1990s now, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. But that's the thing. Like I would prefer to go back and use somebody else's wisdom and experience, or use my own hindsight or whatever, to watch all the stuff that was considered quote unquote the best, or is at least watchable, unique, interesting, something like that from a previous year. Keeping up with everything as it comes out means you're just like you've set yourself up in front of a big conveyor belt with your mouth open at the bottom, and you don't know if like literal crap is gonna find its way down your throat. You have no idea.
Right. Well, when you put it that way, it sounds like it's really bad. but like it's one of the joy of like following the current season is that you have the choice, you have the power to pick out the gem.
I mean, you can do that.
You
can do that for older years.
Well,
if you watch 10 shows from let's say 1997,
all right, and
you might find one you really like.
And you will be the one who influence people as well. So people who who will use your wisdom in order to find out what they like this year. So yeah.
I don't want to influence anybody. If you're listening to this right now, please do not let me influence you. Just Mario
Alright, so
watches so much more anime than I do. Just listen to him. You're gonna be better
uh,
off.
that's alright. Just don't listen to me. My take is free as well. Um, so like one question before we going to our top tens. Are you happy with the top 10, the list of top 10 that you have?
Am I happy? Like, do I think they're all in the correct order and stuff, or am I happy with the 10 shows just in general?
I mean both as well.
No. I
Alright.
I think I'm fine with the order that they're in, but I would say I really only care about the top 4.
Right, wow,
Like
right.
if numbers 5 through 10 just disappeared from existence, I don't think I would care very
Miss
much.
that much. Alright. Wow. See, Wooper have a very strong and negative opinion
Like you
of the
say
anime of the year.
you say it's a strong opinion, and I don't know, maybe it is, but I also don't I don't I don't know. I don't feel that invested
Hmm.
in the opinion or in the anime that we're about to talk about.
Alright.
And with the with the
I
exception of a few at the top.
alright. I like my top 10. I alright, so I think just get down to it now.
Cool.
So let's start with the honorable mentioned.
All right. What you said
Uh
you had one, right? What's that?
yeah, I do have one. So like before I'm making the list, I have like a short list of like 11 shows. So like it's just a matter of like choosing the show that will be left out.
Hmm.
And that show basically is the 11th in ranking.
Yeah. What is
Is
it?
Legion of Galactic Heroes,
Okay.
the new versions.
Right. The new thesis.
Yeah. I don't. They have like the German name. Die New Thesis.
Yeah, it means the
I
new
don't
thesis.
even know the new thesis. All right. Yep. So that show is for me it's pretty good and it's all right. I haven't seen the original, so I can't compare how well it was compared to the original. I think Wooper know about that.
Yeah.
It have a solid introduction towards like toward the two lead that worth caring about, but the problem with that show is that it's just a tip of the iceberg that we've seen so far. So it's just like a very beginning. It's not even like the introduction yet. So it feel incomplete for me.
Yeah, I would
So
expect so because the original
yeah,
OVA series. Well, I mean, if you want to talk about original, first of all, they're a series of novels.
that's right.
That's the source material. That's the real source. But if you want to compare the OVA to the new series, and I saw some of the new series, the OVA is
Mm-hmm,
110 episodes long,
mm-hmm,
uh,
mm-hmm.
and they follow each other like story beat for story beat pretty closely. So yeah, you got about like 10% of the way through or something.
Right. And it doesn't have that like the ending or anything doesn't feel complete. But I think that worked for this show because it planned to be something more. It's planned to have like a 6 movies or something that will
It's
come out
3.
for the next few years. Three of them. Yeah,
Yeah.
that will come out for the next few years. So it just stopped. It hasn't finished. It just stopped right in some point. So like for me that's one of the reasons why that is couldn't make it in my top 10 despite it's for me it's a solid product.
Okay. All right. Cool.
All right, how about your
I got some honorable mentions.
all right.
Sangatsu, obviously.
Mhm.
We're not going to list it, but that show
Yep.
is crazy good, at least in my opinion. Um, and I mean I have other TV series that I could list as honorable mentions, but I mean given how I feel about 2018 overall, I don't know if that's strictly necessary. I do have some like films and OVAs that I want to shout out just briefly.
That's right. Yep, do it.
One of them is Asagao Tokase-san, which is an OVA about a lesbian relationship between 2 girls in high school,
Mm-hmm.
which is really, really beautifully animated. Like it might have my favorite animation of the year across
Wow.
all types of like releases.
Format.
Yeah,
Yep.
exactly. It's really, really beautiful, subtle, smooth character animation, and very like light art, and it captures the feelings of the two girls, like their insecurity and their just how totally caught up they are in the relationship that they have with each other. Just like despite being a heterosexual man, I really, really felt strongly about the relationship that they put on screen, though I've experienced nothing like it. So I guess the universality of being in love with somebody or having like a first relationship, that was conveyed very clearly. Also, two films, one of them, Makia, When the Promised Flower Blooms, like some of the most incredible background art I've seen in anime in recent years.
Yep.
And
I agree.
a story that didn't totally tie itself up. The knot wasn't like airtight, I guess. But I mean, it told a story that was 20 years long, about as well as you could expect, because it tried to do it in 2 hours and it was 20 years worth of material. So I really enjoyed that film. And Mirai as well, Hosoda's most recent film, I really liked because it blends his films recently have been more focused on family.
Yep.
But there was a little bit of like his sci-fi roots in there too, with the bit at the end with like the family tree that they fall through, and it reminded me of Summer Wars a little bit, like the visual presentation at the end with the white background and all the like the lines running through it. And even though Kun, like the main character, he's really annoying, he's a snotty brat, the lesson that he learns by the end and like the encounters that he has with his family members in these like vaguely fantasy sci-fi settings, they're really heartwarming. So I like that film as well.
Yep. I watched both of the films and I agree with what you said. Personally, I will put Makia. I will prefer Makia more than Mirai, but it just because Makia is more ambitious.
Oh yeah, hell yeah, dude! I would love like a super long. You know how the original Legend of the Galactic Heroes was an OVA series that stretched across like 8 or 10 years.
Yep.
I would love something like that for Makia, because it was so beautiful. The world was so like vividly realized. It just seemed so imaginative. So I would have personally, I would love to see like something new from the Makia universe that just goes on and on and on, like endlessly.
Yeah, I feel that as well, but I do think that it's lost its magic. Wow, if it like spending too long on this universe.
Probably, yeah. That sort of thing is inevitable.
Yep. All right, so now let's get to the top 10.
Let's do it.
Blah, of the year. So my 10 is Aggretsuko.
Cool.
It's a show that have like a super relatable protagonist, and I do feel that the character design, that like they are a whole bunch of talking animals. It's really brilliant, because it that it doesn't matter like who we are as the watchers. We all go through the same problem as our Resukos.
I guess that's true. Like if they were human characters, then their gender or their their race or their appearance in general might prohibit people from identifying with them. But if they're animals, then everybody can project onto them.
That's right. That's what I think. Yes. And I also love the humor of the show.
Yeah.
They have like many of the social relevant, and the humor as a whole is just just so good. Like the last week when I saw the OVA, the Christmas special, I do feel like, oh my god, like me myself could be Retsuko, like spending time alone on the Christmas, and
Ouch.
that speaks so close to home, man.
So what would you say that the OVA
Yep.
being like impacting you or just enjoying it like in general, was that what put it over the top, like to give it a
Nah.
top 10 spot? Or that was
No,
going
no,
to
no, no.
happen
So
anyway?
it's gonna happen anyway. But that OVA just reminded me how much I love about the show.
Right.
Like this is one of the show that I could like rewatch and rewatch and rewatch
Yeah.
without any without getting bored.
And the length contributes to that too as well, I think, because it's
That's
15 minutes rather than the full like 22.
that's I agree. And every time that Retsuko like become aggressive, it's funny.
What the metal did you watch the dub by any chance?
No, I want that to shop.
Okay. I was wondering because the apparently the dub, like the metal performances, the screamed vocals in the dub are pretty good.
It's in English as well, right? That's what I heard.
It's what as well?
The dub when they sing in English as well, right?
Yeah. And the
Wow.
vocals are they're screamed, and I mean maybe it's just because English is my native language, but I heard some clips of the dub with Retsuko screaming in the karaoke box or the
Yep.
room.
Yeah.
And I actually like them more than
Wow.
I watched it subbed, but I like
Yep.
those specific portions a little bit more.
Yep. I'm gonna check them out later.
Yeah, I'm curious to see. Like I know it's going to get a second season, so I might try that dubbed instead of subbed.
Yep. Actually, like the first version that I downloaded from Aggressive Retsuko is from French dub.
Did you
And
did you try it out?
No, I tried out the first like 2 minutes before I downloading the new things. But I just wonder like how would they sing in French?
I don't know. I'm sure they would scream the lyrics.
Yeah. I just wonder like how well they sing in French in metals.
I don't know. I bet French metal is well, I don't know. I I shouldn't say I bet because I have no basis for my speculation, but it might be like I don't know, kind of more smooth and laid back. If does it, I don't know if that makes any sense.
That doesn't make sense.
Okay, yeah, you're right.
All
I mean,
right,
the
how
only
about your
the only
top
way to
10?
find out is to try it out.
Yeah. So I might try that out.
I mean, it's going to
So
get a
what-
season 2, so that'll be an opportunity.
Right. Yay for that.
So what's my number 10?
Yep. What is your number 10?
SSSS.Gridman.
Oh wow.
So
All right.
the main
Yep.
reason that I was drawn to it in the first place is because you can tell from Amamiya's direction that it's paying homage to past Gainax works. So I was interested in the fact that there are like quick cuts in there that are very reminiscent of a show that needs not be mentioned. It has some really strange, unorthodox angles where it quote unquote places the camera. But even though you do get a little bit of a Gainax feel from it, it still functions as a celebration of like tokusatsu series. That was an element I wasn't totally able to appreciate, but I'm glad that people were, that it could work kind of on two levels. Apparently, like elements of the main characters' designs, like their little pins on their lapels and their shoes and things, were based on color schemes from like a Transformers series called Shattered Glass. So if that's the case, I have to imagine that like every single corner of the series somehow is a shout out to some tokusatsu thing.
Yep.
So that's I think it's good that the show works on two levels like that. I think the CG was really good. Some of the best I've seen in anime thus far. I really loved the Dream episode. I didn't totally understand it at first, I don't think. And it does seem like the kind of thing that you would need to watch multiple times in order to grasp everything that it's offering. Really like dense with symbolism and stuff. And although it didn't wrap up exactly the way that I felt it should or that I wanted it to, especially the first half of the finale with Akane's like aborted transformation into a kaiju and all the stuff with Auntie and Alexis Carib and stuff,
Mhm.
it's still the fact that it functioned as like speculation fodder is, I think that's kind of admirable and kind of interesting. Um,
Yep.
so I wasn't totally a fan of the way it ended, but I did have a good time watching it. And for me, like at the end of the day, that's what anime it ought to do for you, is you ought to have a little fun watching it, think a little bit as well.
Mhm.
And Gridman made me do both of those things.
All right. You you will hear more about Gridman later down my list.
Okay,
So
look
wait for
forward to
that.
it.
All right. So let's get to my number 9 of the year. It is Megalobox.
Okay,
So for me, Megalobox is a very stylish show. It on the designs, like the graffiti and stuff, bring the city town to life, and I really appreciate that. It also have like the underdog story, in which a guy that have no name, that have like no fame or whatever, came to the top. So like this is a very classic story that like everyone can get behind.
yeah,
And Megalobox is also a show that say much about this spirit of sport. Like people like like bring themselves to the sport, like trying to play fair, to just for the like their quest to to be the best.
play fair.
Uh, yep.
Wasn't
That,
there
that
wasn't there
that's
a
what.
bit of cheating in Megalobox? I seem to remember.
But remember the ending where like Yuri, he actually put down his gear in order to fight um
Joe.
Chungdok Cho
Right, right, yeah.
Freya. Yeah,
He goes through that terrible surgery. Yeah.
that's right. Yeah, and by that, but also I feel that the ending suck. The ending just like just betray everything that's come before. So it have like a spoiler alert, happy ending. That that I think that all this character doesn't deserve it. Or like the show itself, like when it hints for every single episode that they're gonna be dead, like even in the titles, the ending turned out to be so light, so lightweight, that that it doesn't um it just doesn't hold up at all.
Right. I remember we had a big back and
That
forth about that.
composition, yeah. But like as a whole, I still enjoy Megalobox as a very great sports show, and I would definitely recommend people to watch the show.
Yeah, it's stylish, I think, is the the term you used there that I would most agree with,
Yep.
because it definitely, I mean, they were in pursuit of that sort of sketchy, rough style, so much so that they actually like downgraded the visuals. They downscaled it and
Mhm.
then re-upscaled it.
That's right.
So
That's right. Yep.
so it looks, they were trying to achieve that old cell animated look, which they kind
Mhm.
of did, and the thought behind that I liked, but I liked the appearance of it, I think, less and less as time went on.
Yep.
But yeah,
The boxing itself, though, the boxing itself isn't that good. That's well animated, but we could agree that the this show isn't much about boxing. It's about
I mean, the word box is
an
in the title.
yep. Well, it's about like an underdog who from nothing become from zero become hero.
Yeah, that's true. Although by the end, I think it became just as much about Yuri, which I liked because he was probably my favorite character.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
All right, nice.
All right.
Megalobox. Megalobox is not in my top 10.
It's not on the top 10.
No.
Wow. Wow.
Yep.
You always seem like more enthusiastic about Megalobox more than mine.
Yeah, I suppose I was.
Yeah.
I
Wow,
suppose
that's
I
a
was.
surprise.
All right, well, let me get to my number 9 so that we can get all the way down my list and I can prove that it's not on there.
Yep.
My number 9 is Shoujo Kageki Revue Starlight.
Oh my god. All right.
For me, this was this like my fandom for this show, or fandom's not the right word. My appreciation for it, or my love affair with it, whatever you want to call it, was like a tale of two halves. For the first half, I was like, "This is the greatest thing ever," and then for the second half, I was like, "This is not the greatest thing ever." It had like, for my money, the best premiere of the year. It pulled a lot from Utena, which I hadn't seen at that point when I saw the first episode of Starlight. So maybe that's why I liked it so much. But then I watched Utena, and especially Adolescence of Utena. I realized exactly how much they stole from from that series.
Well, you watched the movie as well already.
Yeah. The entire transformation sequence was like ripped straight from Utena.
Well.
In Adolescence specifically.
Yeah. All right. Keep going.
What really drew me to it were the like how stunning the reviews were near the start, some of the combat, and how it was able to like amaze visually while it spoke to the like what the characters wanted and represented. It did both of those at the same time, which I thought was nice. And as the show went on, there were still a few really beautiful bits of animation, especially when it came to the reviews in the basement under the school. But there were also some like gigantic letdowns that couldn't even hold a candle to what came before. So that killed a bit of my hype. And I also thought that the characters were pretty thin. Like they all stood for a concept or an idea, and they were typically paired with just one or two other characters rather than feeling like students at a school who are going about their own lives. Like Karen was meant to represent collectivism, Hikari with individualism because she was trying to go it alone, and Banana was like artistic stagnancy. She just wanted to repeat and not move forward. And I don't feel as though they made much of an impact on me outside of that like representational quality. So that's it ended up at number 9. Like I couldn't not give it a spot on this list, given that for I don't know, like maybe a third of the show's run, I was so into it.
Yep.
But it can't be anywhere near the top of the list for me.
Right. Wow. I'm kind of surprised that you put that down in your like number 9, because I would expect it to be like on the top 5.
Oh, you remember how disappointed I was like every week pretty much once we got to the end.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
What's your number 9?
You will hear me talking more about that later now as well.
Yeah. Yep.
So let's get to number 8. My number 8 of the year is
your number 9, right? Oh, you did Megalobox already. Sorry.
Yep, Megalobox.
My bad.
So my number 8 of the years is the one that I'm pretty sure that Wooper doesn't put it on his top 10.
There are going to be more than a few of those.
They're going to be more. I'm sure. And this one, I know for the fact that he just gets so frustrating at it that he drop it right at the face, and that show is Planet With.
Planet With.
Yep. So
nice.
If I have to pick the most original anime of the year, I should pick Planet With as one, because the storytelling itself is just so crazy there. So like I already mentioned that on the podcast, if you have listened until now, but for the thing that I more appreciate in Planet With is that how it's keep building up stories, or an act, or like like keep building a plot like on top of another one. And it's managed to do so very well in every single episode. So like, if you come to an episode of Planet With, you know that you will go for a ride, and it will end. Most of the time, I would say 90% of the time, it's end like very satisfying, and to the point that you don't even you don't even think that like you don't need a follow up, but then it have like follow up, and it's managed to to be as entertaining. So it just like a wild ride for me in Planet V, and I do think that it best on the just for the one core run.
It's
one
good
for
that it
length.
was just like 12 episodes.
Yep. Because I mean like that with that amount of like of detail and information, it could flesh out into like a two core like 24 episodes. But the way that the mangaka, which I don't remember the name now, he's a legend mangaka, do it, he do it specifically for the 12 episodes, and it showed.
Right. The guy that you're talking about is Satoshi Mizukami.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. He apparently storyboarded the entire anime by himself, like like before it even began production, from what I understand. So yes, it was definitely designed to play out over the course of 12 episodes. I mean, you already know how I feel about Planet With.
Yeah.
And if you're listening to this and you don't, just go back and look through the thumbnails of all our past, all of our past videos until you find the one with a bunch of flames on the cover.
Well,
I couldn't get into it.
I do know that the CG fight is not that good. It's jarring. It stand out too much that you can see like it just like just the CG robot fighting each other, but I really appreciate, and on top of that, I think the character design is pretty much normal, not standing out at all. But yeah, it the writing, it the story itself that that surpass everything else. It have an ability to flip around on the genre conventions. That's what I say. So if you want something for surprise, you don't mind the busy, the incoherent. That's what I'm looking for. Of the plot, go for it. Watch it.
All right, nice.
It's epic.
Cool. All right, I
All
guess
right.
we'll do my number 8,
Yeah.
which is Devilman Crybaby.
All right. Yeah.
So this is a Yuasa joint, so there was like pretty much no way it wouldn't be in my top 10. Although Crybaby came close, so sort of close to missing out. Like my 8, 9, and 10, I kind of have on the same plane of, like disappointment, essentially.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like there were things about each of those works that I really liked, and then there were things that really let me down. And the conclusion, I think, was one of them for all three. So with Crybaby specifically, the fact that they tried to compress all the stuff about, like Satan's rebellion and the whole world going to war, and I think like it was implied that there was nuclear war as well that broke out over the course of like decades that was all compacted into the conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
It totally lost me. And like Ryo having amnesia and secretly being Satan, spoiler alert, I guess, that was hard to accept as a story point. So I don't think it was foreshadowed particularly well.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it was a complete mess to me, the finale, and I wasn't familiar with Devilman beforehand, so that may have contributed, I guess.
Yep.
But apart from that, I think there were lots of things to like about it. The character deaths really had a lot of impact, and I think the characters in general were pretty strong because the show really focused on adolescence and everything that comes with it, like love and lust and searching for self and the tendencies to like label and discriminate. A lot of the things that teenagers tend to struggle with were so like rooted in the story and in the goings on of each episode that it was hard not to really like the characters. So when they eventually died and the series got like bloodier and bloodier, that left a mark on me. particularly Miki's death. I think the end of episode 9.
Yep.
That hit pretty hard.
She died a horrible way.
Yes, she did, and apparently in the manga it was even worse.
Oh my god.
I don't see how that's possible, but never underestimate Go Nagai, I guess.
Yeah.
And the animation style, the flash animation, was I'm of two minds about it. One, it was like really helpful when it came to the combat, like between demons, because it allowed the show to be as flexible and as I guess crazy, like insane and off the wall as it needed to be. Like if you're trying to portray two demons like trying to kill each other, then you can't just use a conventional art style and like limited motion. That's not going to work out.
Yep.
So Crybaby went balls to the wall with that, which was good. But at the same time, if you're going to pursue that style of animation, you need an art style to match that's like a little bit elastic. And I wasn't always a fan of how the show used those, like its character art and its modeling. It killed some scenes for me, like the one with the dad, where he finds out that his daughter has turned into a demon. That was supposed to be like really gripping and moving, and I was like, I was tempted to laugh, honestly. Yeah. So I'm just, it's a series that I'm conflicted about, which is why it's down here at number 8.
All right.
Also, the soundtrack was killer. Kensuke Ushio is like the best. For my money, he's the best anime composer alive right now.
So they have like all the hip hops and all these dance, electronic songs.
Yeah, really brooding
music.
Dark,
yep.
like pulsing electronic music, which really fit, like better than the more lighthearted electronic music did in Ping Pong. And Ping Pong's soundtrack was already godlike, but this was maybe even better.
It's a setting level.
It's a what level?
Setting.
Sure.
It's a pun. Okay. All right. Let's get to my number 7 then. My number 7 is the show that just basically just finished yesterday, and it's Blooming to You.
Okay.
But even right now, like like after finishing the show and after spending like I think the last half of of it runs, like really getting behind the show, I can still it's really hard for me to describe why this show is good. It's slow burn for sure. So I guess like in the latter half of Blooming to You, when we understand the point of views of the list, it make it more like connecting. So it's all about adolescence. It's all about romantic. So love is like one side of the story, but it's also about like for example Narumi, who she want to protect herself to. So she try her best to be like the image of her sisters, her dead sister, and it turned out in the end that like her sister wasn't as perfect as she always thought her to be, and she was in like a complete loss that like who she wanted to be, like what happened after the play that she really want to do, but what will happen afterwards, like who she gonna be, and all this kind of stuff. So I just find on this connect to me on a personal level.
I actually just finished watching Blooming to You like an hour ago.
All right, so you finished watching everything of Blooming to You?
Yeah. I didn't get to. Wow. I mean, Senshi didn't get the last episode out in time for me to watch it, so I watched the horrible subs version. But
yeah, I just heard the horrible sub, they screw up the title of the of the play.
What was it supposed to be?
That's supposed to be the I See You Now, I think.
I See You Now, but what it was Only You Know in the horrible subs
Only You Know
version.
Yeah. Oh, I Know You Now.
I know you
I
now
think
versus only
yeah.
you know. Yeah, that's a huge difference. I mean,
That
Crunchyroll just fucking up once
oh
again.
sorry,
What
sorry,
else?
sorry. All right, so that's supposed to be I only know you. So it's mean that like who doesn't matter like the person who the character before, the characters in the play that she have to she have to connect with all the three version of herself. It's the nurse let's say that she only know the person as she is now. So that meant to be that meant to be like I only know you now. You know.
I don't totally get it. It would have been nice if the subs that I watched had, been more accurate or gotten it right the first time. Then I might not be
Yeah,
confused.
that confused. That's right.
But like all the stuff with the play for me in Yagakimi was like just so on the nose. It's
I
so
don't know.
clearly
Correct.
mirrored what was going on in like you and Narumi's minds and in their lives. That I was like, you're losing me.
All right.
But I did watch it.
Yep.
Like I did follow it, and after not liking the first episode very much, I kept up with it and kept up with it.
Mhm.
And it's pretty melodramatic, and the art didn't always work for me, and I didn't like all the characters. But at the same time, I was compelled to keep going and going. So yeah, I'd say it's a solid pick.
Yep. Well, I'm not really that connected. Like I'm not really that personal connected to these people as well. So like I still don't like you as a characters, and I still feel Nanami, like a weirdo, basically. But yeah, for some reason I really invested to their relationship and how they grew and on in like how they plumb into each other. So also the productions, the like the cinematography, quote, quote unquote again, and the act style is pretty consistent.
Yeah, I would say that it is pretty consistent. Um, I don't know that like what bothered me were the eyebrows.
Yeah.
They're just like
All right.
really thin lines that are like
All
floating
right.
way above their eyes. It put me off a little bit. So
All right.
there's a nitpick for you.
That's a weird criticism.
I
But
don't
all right.
I don't think it is weird. What's weird are their eyebrows. Let's be real.
But weird is like you find it off-putting about the eyebrows.
What can I say? I'm a man of fine taste.
All right. But I feel a bit disappointed that they didn't get into the play itself in this finale. So I don't know if this gonna get a second season, and I don't know if they got enough food to to expand on the second seasons. So I just at least I just hope that we go through the play act, but
I mean,
we
you can
still
always read
haven't
the
gotten to the
manga.
point. Yeah. So
You can just
what the
read the
point
manga.
of like anime of the year then?
I mean, that's a good question.
All right, yeah, but I really invested to the story.
Okay. My number 7 is I guess the first repeat. It's Aggretsuko.
All right.
So I like that the characters their designs are cute and expressive. I like the line work being really thick. That makes the CG more palatable, makes it
Yep.
easier to swallow. Their personalities really match their appearances, like the choice of what animal they are and their unique quirks. For example, like the woman who's a snake, and how
Yep.
she's constantly hissing and the boss being like a fat pig, sweaty pig.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
I mean, it's not a difficult decision to make your boss who you hate a pig, especially if he's like
Yep.
supposed to represent the patriarchy or whatever, chauvinist pig. But it's not as though the decision to make them different animals was difficult, but it still works very well. Retsuko's metal moments are like my least favorite part of the show, I think. But it's still unique Like it's a unique as an outlet for her anger at workplace sexism and romantic frustration and like being in a dead end job. But rather than the moments where she like lets out all her anger, I like the moments where she's stuck in the office and it has to quietly simmer a little bit
Yep.
more, especially
Yep.
since
Yep.
that gives all the other side characters like their time to shine. And when they're bouncing off of her, that's a little bit more entertaining to me. And
Mm-hmm.
one other thing that I really like about the series is that even though it's they're 15-minute episodes and you in this format you could tell just a bunch of self-contained stories and that would be fine. There is a sense of progression in Aggretsuko because like her secret is eventually discovered by Washimi and Gori.
Yep.
The two like
Secretaries.
yeah, I guess they're secretaries. But what was the word I was going to use? Like they're
Boss.
no, they're like the office hotshots, I guess.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Like all
Alright.
the women look up to them because they have like power and status, and they're always really well put together. And so the friendship that she develops with them is fun. It's rewarding. There's a little miniature arc where like there's the possibility of leaving her job that's explored, but that ends up
Yep.
falling through. And then she gets the boyfriend, which she has for a couple episodes, like the
Yep.
really bland looking dude, which ties into Haida's crush on her, which is then carried on in We Wish You a Metal Christmas. So I did like that there was always a little story thread like running through it,
Mhm.
and it wasn't just a bunch of one shots.
Yep. And
So
even like the boss, the sweaty pigs,
yeah,
who have like some moment of like of redemption as well. Like when we see like the real him, like he was what he was like before he become that lazy boss.
yeah.
And needless to say, I actually like him more than I was. Like I don't hate him or anything.
No, neither do I.
Right.
But I've never had a
It-
boss. I've had one terrible boss in my life, but
Yep.
for a different reason than this guy. So I didn't feel any anger at him.
Right.
And he's a pig.
So
How am I gonna hate a pig? Pigs are cute. They are.
Alright.
They're like the real animal, even though they're they're all fat and they make disgusting noises and stuff. They're pretty cute when they're cleaned
Alright.
up. Don't you remember Silver Spoon?
Yep.
Remember how cute that
I
pig was?
I haven't watched Silver Spoon actually.
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
I will though. I will.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
All right.
What's your number
Let's get to-
6?
Let's get to my number 6. My number 6 is the one that you just have. So it's a Devilman Crybaby.
Okay.
So for me, it's like it if we have to put like one single title that represent the whole Netflix original show, that would be the show Devilman Crybaby. It's like the most flashy show. It's like the most prestigious because they have like the most prestigious director and one of the most prestigious mangaka behind it.
Go Nagai was a man of the people. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
He wasn't
He-
pretentious. He was like lowbrow.
Yeah, well, but he famous for that. He's now known for being provocators. So
Yeah.
well, so like pretentious is not the right word, but they certainly like well known. And the anime itself, I appreciate for the fact that it's also keeping the spirit of Go Nagai. So it's like it's experimental. It have like all these weird angles, weird camera angle, the weird sound design, or even like the colors they put in. But even like you say the flat animations, but I think like on these experimentals paid off. The story itself is a bit bad. It's just not that building up. And I also agree that like in the last third it's just fallen off with too many, trying to put too many details while don't have the time to develop them properly. But like in the end, I think like the emotional core is there, and I do feel for some of the characters or some of the events, and it's never failed to be anything less than entertaining from start to finish.
Okay.
So Devilman Crybaby number 6 of the year for me.
All right.
What is your number 6?
Yuru Camp.
All right, Yuru Camp.
I was late to the show. I did not pick it up at first because it just looked like, something stupid.
Cute girl doing cute things.
Yeah. But I heard that it was pretty good, so I decided to check it out, and it was pretty good. Turns out it was pretty good. The thing I liked most about it was Rin, like slowly warming up to all the other girls.
Yep.
And that's done in a way that anime doesn't often do it, which is very slowly and naturally, and not having like a lightning bolt moment where you realize, oh, the requisite amount of backstory and effort has been put into my character. Now all of a sudden I love everyone and I'm totally social.
I need friends.
Yeah, there wasn't that either.
Yep.
She just very slowly warms up to the other girls as a result of their efforts to try to get to know her, and it feels pretty normal and pretty natural. And it was a string that was carried through each episode, so that their group camping trip at the end is like a perfect culmination of all that.
That's right. Yeah.
And it has then there's all the other things that the show is known for, perhaps more commonly, like it has a really relaxing atmosphere, and the soundtrack has a lot of like Celtic influences and little acoustic guitar ditties, and that it has it does have some really nice backgrounds to it. Although the way that the characters move through it, the way they're animated, like whenever they're supposed to be walking towards or away from the camera, or perhaps like up a trail or down a hill, doesn't always look realistic. So this was done by a studio that hasn't done a lot of good work in the past, I don't think. And I guess that kind of showed in the animation, but the backgrounds looked really nice, which is arguably more important for a series like this. And I guess it feels a little bit too informational at times. Like there are some extended segments where they're just talking about camping materials and information and supplies and stuff. I really just was kind of mentally about to check out during those scenes. But then they're usually like one of the girls does something funny or cute to spice it up, or they'll do the little trick where they give like a tent a little voice. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like there's a little squeaky voice that'll be the tent, talking, or like a pine cone will be on the ground and it'll say like yo or something like that when they're gathering pine cones as kindling material. So they're usually, when the show was about to lose me by like just blabbing on and on about camping stuff, it managed to draw me back in. But the main reason that I would hold it this highly is just Rin's character.
Yep. Well, needless to say, I'm really a fan of Rin Solo Camp. I don't know if I have been telling you that in this previous podcast, but Rin Solo Camp in the midst of winters is really something, like something on its own. Like she really enjoy herself there, and it's just like the comfortable of being alone, and that speak really well to me. I might do one of these camp, like in the future.
All you have to do is rewatch the show, man, because they'll tell you exactly what you have to do.
in the warm room, just rewatch the show.
Right. Before you go out into the cold.
That's right.
But it's summer for you right now because you're in the wrong hemisphere.
Yeah, I know. And it's freaking hot here now.
What's your number 5?
Alright, so my number 5 is the show that I don't think Wooper have on his list either. It's Asobi Asobase. for me, it's like one of the funniest show in years. It's like one of the best comedy that I've seen in years, and it have like only I think that the main best strength of Asobase is that they have like a cute design of they allow you to like one of another cute girl doing cute things until they put on the crazy faces, on the exaggerations that make it like make it where that clash to the cutie uh to the cutie design, and that make a lot of fun out of it. I many of the segment when it hit really really hard, and also really like how it's follow up to on this crazy, so like it really wanted to go crazy, and it sometimes it goes there. um I also like how some of these segments how unpredictable they are. So I also love the three girls, especially Minako, Hanako. I think Hanako.
I don't remember. I don't
She
remember their names.
she just she great. She have like one of the creative voice acting of this year for me, of my favorite, and she just kill it every single time. I think the common misconception of the show is that the people often think this show as a show where on these character doing horrible thing to each others, and while it's partly true, it's more like hijinks. So it's more like they never feel, to me they never feel um uh cruel. They never feel like they intend to to doing something evil. They always have like the good side behind all that. Right, I'm done with Asobi Asobase. I'm just so in love with this show.
Well, you know what they say. Humor
What
is
is
relative.
life? All right, yep.
I
Especially in anime as well.
right, yeah, because you have to. It has to get through a cultural filter. So it's like doubly relative, I suppose. I have a comedy. I have several comedies in my top 10. That was not one of them.
Yep.
Actually, my number 5 is kind of a comedy as well.
All right.
Although the
Yep.
main reason that I like it is for dramatic reasons.
He's Hinamatsuri.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Yeah.
This is mostly on the list because of Anzu.
Yep.
All of her stories about homelessness and family and the value of hard work are, for me, they're some of the most human stories of the year.
I agree.
And they're in a comedy show about a bunch of aliens who come to Earth in like metal eggs. So I don't know how they managed to pull that off, but I mean I suspect that the director was like just a huge Anzu fan and took pains to really get her story across really well out of all the material in the manga. So that I think that she's great. Her standing as like as she kind of functions as like a baby or like a child who's learning about the world for the first time, because she's come to Earth knowing nothing, and what she learns and the way she learns it was a real treat to watch. So whenever there was a segment where she was on screen, I was like, oh yes, thank goodness, it's Anzu Matsuri again. And when she wasn't, the show was noticeably worse for me.
Well, I still enjoy Hitomi 6 months.
Yeah, Hitomi's probably the most consistently funny character, just because of the absurd. Like, she's not even an alien; she's from Earth, but the situations she gets herself into are the craziest and the most insane somehow.
Yep.
And Hina and Nita, their bonding process was kind of inconsistent, but when it hit, it was both heartwarming and humorous. So that was like about half the time they would have an episode together or a segment together, because it was usually like A part and B part for this show, from what I remember. Whenever they had a segment together that worked, it was great, and when they didn't, it was I was like, oh man, I would change the channel, but I'm not watching this on a television. This was by Studio Feel, who did Tsuki ga Kirei last year, and there's the same sort of like visual inconsistency in this show. Like they're really reaching for a style that is not too common, and some of the time they really get it, and some of the time it doesn't. It falls through a little bit. They don't quite connect the dots. But it was nice at least that it didn't look totally similar to everything else. Like it's on its face, it's a cute girls series, but it doesn't look like a lot of the others.
Yep.
So I appreciate their effort on the show, but mostly
Right.
I mean, just like Yuru Camp, I'm all about Rin. For Hinamatsuri, I'm all about Anzu.
Yep. Well, she definitely come off as one of the one of the best, the most crow characters of the series.
Yeah.
And I like every single adventure that she have.
Yeah, she's daughter of the season, daughter of the year.
Yep, agreed.
If I got to pick.
All right, so now we come to the bottom half of the run.
Oh, we're already in the bottom half. 1 to 5
We're
is
already in.
the
Yep.
bottom half.
Actually, yep. So it's now in my number 4, and it's the only sequel of my top 10.
Oh my god, here it comes.
You didn't know that. I don't think you know that show.
Progressive.
No.
Oh, okay.
So my number 4 is not technically an anime.
Oh, now I know what it is. Go ahead.
Yep, it's Thunderbolt Fantasy 2.
Weren't you just telling me the other day that it is technically an anime?
Well, technically, this is not an animation. It is a puppetry show.
Right.
Puppetry shows, and yep. So like everyone who already enjoyed the first season have many things to enjoy in the second season. While I could say that the second season come off a bit weaker than the first one. The first one was more like unpredictable. This one we have like a very clear set of the good guys and the bad guys, and the ending for me is still left a bit to be desired. But as a whole, I still enjoy like all the cheesy lines, all the conversations between like the cast, and all the member of the cast is like the protagonists of their own stories. So they have like a lot of things. They have like their own mannerism. They have like they just larger than life, and it's just very entertaining to see how these characters like bouncing off each other. One of my favorite segment is the one where these main characters come to kill the wingless dragon, and just imagine like the dragon in the puppet form doing splash on the fire around the wasteland. It's just so out there.
Wait, that actually you said imagine. Like, are you kind of directing the audience to imagine that?
No, because it does happen it does happen in the series, but like I don't think like a lot of people watching these shows.
Yeah, so you're kind of directing people to imagine, like how the show did it.
Yeah, that's right.
That sounds pretty cool.
Well, all right, thank you. And it just some,
that. What do you mean? Thank you. You didn't use the puppet. You didn't put the fire on the set.
Well, I did explain it so like the audience can imagine that.
Yes.
All right.
True.
So
well done.
It's some. Thank you. It's something that you won't see very often in anime form or any other form to speak of. So yeah, give it give this show a try if you want something completely different, and it's a good one, like good story, very entertaining on top of that.
Does it have the trademark Urobuchi, like tons and tons of dialogue just going on forever?
It does.
Yeah. Good old Butcher.
And, yeah, and they speak and they talk like all the stupid dialogue as well. But yeah, that's the fun of it.
Yeah.
It's one of the best thing about this show is like it never takes itself too seriously. So you can just just go along with the ride, enjoy the ride yourself.
Yeah. You already know what my issue is with Thunderbolt Fantasy, but it's not the sort of the sort of thing that should prohibit anyone from giving it a try.
Yep.
Because I do think from what little I saw of the first season that it was pretty fun. Like it had a good sense of adventure to it and like a little bit of camp value as well. A lot of self-awareness, a lot of style. I think there are a lot of things to like about it. I just personally I can't get into it.
It just isn't for you.
Yeah, for like a very specific reason that I won't get into here.
Oh right.
But I'm so pleased that you said it's the only sequel, because that means the new Furikuris won't be on here. I hope.
Yeah. So all right. So Furikuri progressive and Furikuri alternative, I put them into like one entity. Doesn't make it to this to my top 10. It's like in my number 12.
Okay.
So like honorable mentioned.
Gotcha. All right. My number 4 is Sora Yori Motoi Basho, or A Place Farther Than the Universe. This is my favorite original anime of the year, which somehow tells a believable story about 4 girls going to Antarctica, which is a totally unbelievable, ridiculous premise. But I mean, even saying that, after watching the show, I don't think it is totally ridiculous, because the way that they get there seems pretty realistic. And their motivations, their reasons for wanting to go, are also, with the exception maybe of Hinata, the other 3 I definitely understood their their urge to go somewhere new. Shirase in particular, I mean, her reason for going was stronger than anyone's, because it was like all tied up in her grief over her mother's disappearance and her determination to be a part of this expedition that had been denied her in the past. So her character by far the strongest, and all the emotion that she carried with her on the trip made the payoff at the end with the scene with the laptop and the insert song and all the girls crying, that made it really hit like a truck. When I first watched it, I wasn't totally into that scene, but with time, I think I've appreciated it more and more. And there's a very strong sense of friendship and camaraderie between all the girls. Doesn't work in every single episode, but for the vast majority of them, I think it does. And I think perhaps that feeling was aided by 3 of the 4 seiyuu voicing the girls being newcomers. Only Shirase was voiced by like a veteran voice actress, Kana Hanazawa. So like I feel like maybe you kind of get the sense watching it that all the women behind the characters kind of bonded together as well. I don't know, maybe that's just like my fan fiction or something. But I think they play off each other really nicely.
Right. Do you know the fact that 3 out of the 4 seiyuu, they work together in a Monogatari series. So that they voiced like 3 of the characters from the Monogatari series.
Who did in this show?
In this show, yeah.
I thought they were supposed to be like newcomers. Is that totally wrong?
That not totally wrong. They are new, but not that new. So they actually 3 of them participated in the Monogatari series.
But Monogatari series came out like years and years ago.
Yeah, well, but they have like 10 to 20 characters, and this girl is not like the original. Only Hana Kanizawa is like from the original cast.
Oh my god, dude! I'm looking at their profiles now, like all the stuff they've done. I'm totally wrong about this. They have tons and tons of credits. Where did I read that? Well, never mind, guys. That's totally wrong. Nevertheless,
but
the friendship between the girls on screen
yep.
really worked for me.
And they actually have bond to each other. So yeah, your points still stand.
I mean, it doesn't really, but thanks anyway. In addition to the emotional core of the series being pretty strong, thanks to the girls' friendship, there are also a lot of colorful side characters and lots of neat scientific details that kind of flesh out both of the settings of the series that came in the last 2/3, which are the ship, the that they take the expedition on, and the continent of Antarctica itself. Like specifically, I thought that the everything that they learned about Antarctica in the lead up to their departure, and all the stuff they learned about like the preparations that the crew had to take on the ship, that was all communicated a lot better than some of the camping stuff in Yuru camp, for example.
Yep.
It felt like a more integral part of the series, perhaps because like the danger of going to Antarctica makes it much more vital to understand that stuff.
Right.
So that number 4, yeah.
Yeah, and I think I also appreciate the fact that it on the plan on the thing that they do, it feel real. It feel like it feel exactly like we know for a fact that it happened in real life, and they they did thoroughly research about that.
Yeah, it felt that way. I mean, I'm not a scientist. I maybe they were tricking me the whole time, but
yeah, well, but one of the drama from the friendship that I found the most arresting in the show is the one that came before the girls come to Antarctica, which is from the main girl.
Shirase?
And her, no, it's not Shirase. It's the other one, Mari, and her childhood friend.
Oh, right. Yeah, that
Yep,
seems to be
remember
that sort of tension existing in friendship seems to be a big theme. Like I just finished watching episode 10 of Tsurune, and there's like a similar thing going on between two of the guys in that show, where like one friend gets used to being like the emotional support pillar for the other, and then when they're not needed anymore, they just like freak out.
Yep.
That happened in Sora Yori as well.
All right, that happened to Wreck-It Ralph number 2.
Wreck-It Ralph?
The Wreck-It Ralph, the sequel. Have you watched that? I just watched that 2 days ago.
No.
That exactly what happened.
Okay. Yeah, well, I guess
Spoiler
not
alert.
just... I guess, oh, man. Now I have no reason to watch it.
He break the internet. It's right there in the title.
That doesn't sound like a very fun movie. I don't want the internet to be broken.
It's a good one. All right.
I guess that's not just anime. All right, what is your number 3?
All right, so my third favorite show of the year is Revue Starlight.
All right.
It's have like many things that I love from my anime. It has like very it have strong symbolisms. It have many good camera angles. It have like the visual storytelling is top notch. The duel scenes between the girls are inspirational, to say the least. And I kind of like on the characters, on the cast, and on the character development myself. So like not unlike Wooper, who feel them as like a generic cast, I do feel invested to them, and I myself consider the banana act a very good act that like change the whole thing, change the tide of the show, make it more ambitious, and make it better because of it. I do feel like the final reach, it have the emotional core, but it a tad bit predictable, and it a tad bit conventional. But as a whole, I think this is a good ride. A bit let down by the end for sure, but I basically like everything about it.
Right. Well, it's on both of our top 10 lists.
Yep.
So there's at least something worth liking about
But
it.
but from your 8 to 10, it's more like a disappointment list.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I didn't the banana arc in Revue Starlight. I was just like it came and it went, and
Yeah,
and by the end of the series, it doesn't have much impact anymore.
impact.
Yeah, and banana is
Right.
mostly forgotten, as are many of the other characters.
All right. That's a shame.
Yeah,
I like her well enough. I like her hairstyle. Her hairstyle.
her hairstyle. It looks like she has two wings. She might just get up and fly away.
Banana nice.
Right.
That's the catchphrase.
Yeah. Yep. Uh,
All right. What is your number three shows?
Papote Pipiku, or Pot Team Epic.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Like number. All
For me,
right.
this is the funniest show of the year. It
Yep.
it pokes fun at Japanese film, the concept of cute girls doing cute things, idol series, and the idea of being like an anime or manga or video game nerd. The show has a term for that. It's called being a subculture bitch. And it kind of mocks the idea that anyone would be so invested in that sort of thing that they would devote themselves to it entirely. But at the same time, it also celebrates those things through its like lampooning, I guess, of different tropes, but also like engagement with them. For example, it often breaks out into a 16-bit art style, which is like from early video games like the SNES era. And at the end of every episode, there's a preview for the next episode, which is actually for a different series entirely called Hoshido Girl Drop, which is about like a high school idol who's in love with some boy, but she can't confess to him, which is like highly satirical and always made me giggle whenever I saw it. There are a ton of different art styles in the show too, so it's very visually creative. There's puppetry, there's sand art, there's paint on glass, there's
Wow.
there's 3D segments, there's the 16-bit art that I talked about before, and there's also Hell Shake Yano, which is the flip book sequence with all the notebooks, and they're flipping all the pages back,
Yeah.
which was really really inventive and kind of took the internet by storm when it came out.
Ooh.
It also had the little trick where each episode was like the same 11 minutes repeated twice, but with different voice actors. So the show employed dozens of famous voice actors, usually in the episodes that were parodying the franchises that they were partnered with or that they had been a part of. So it was highly amusing to hear Popuko and Pipimi voiced by like very very deep gruff voiced dudes. It kind of adds another layer of satire to it because they're both of them being like cute girl characters, even though they're like kind of deformed and have like attitude problems and are generally very like kind of off-putting and rough characters. For them to be voiced that way and depicted that way, like is essentially shitting on the cute girl genre.
All
So
right. So that
the
is
highly satirical
yep.
series that requires a little bit of knowledge, I think, about Japanese pop culture and about
Mhm.
like the anime industry and its trends and tropes. But it also works on its own, I think. At least it did for me.
Yep. So it's supposed to be a satire, true and true.
Um, kind of,
Hmm.
yeah.
And you missed the live action part as well, because I remember watching the second episode and there was like a live action of the entire of the cast who doing the sounds, the voice sounds.
Oh, like in the sound booth.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's and the director is like apologizing over and over because
Yeah.
they're being made to voice ridiculous lines that make no sense. Yeah, that's another jab, I guess, at I don't know, Seiyu, maybe like Seiyu culture, that they're kind of stuck up and entitled, or maybe it's just the show making fun of itself, that
Yeah.
it's so ridiculous.
Alright.
It's the they're like it's not a straightforward not a straightforward series by any means. Not a conventional comedy. And it kind of makes fun of the very concept of like being really really into anime, which I appreciate because I think that anime is like mostly ridiculous and stupid, and this show seemed to recognize that, which may be the reason that I was so into it.
All right. I only watched like 2 episodes of the shows, but I want to try more. From what from what I saw from the 2 episodes, I just feel it's random as hell. Too random. Like it sometimes it works for its benefit. Like you don't even know what's gonna come next. But when you know like you sit down you're trying to put everything together, it just doesn't like it just doesn't come together at all.
Yeah, everybody's gonna feel differently about it. I like not knowing what was gonna come next. I found that refreshing because I can usually tell what's about to come next when I'm watching anime,
All right.
or at least I feel that I can. I don't know.
Yeah, so that's a very private and very personal pick for you. Pop Teen Epic at number 3.
Yeah, well, it's
Wow.
it's the show that I enjoyed watching third or fourth most, I should say, because Sangatsu's not on here. But
Right.
I was every time a new episode came out, I actually watched it instead of putting it off, which is rare for me.
All right, so let's get to my number 2.
All right.
So my second second favorite show of the year is Gridman.
All
So we already say a lot about this show, like back in just some previous podcasts. But one thing that I want to say is that this show have a lot going on. It have a very great visual style. It have it's like the director always like in demand. They know how to control all the character on screen. It had many layers like what Wooper said, and I also like the fact that it's made for many times it's blur the fact between the real what is real and what is a dream or what is in the alternative world. I like on that. The episodes, the dreams episode in particular is like for me is like the best episodes of the year. Spoiler. And what come afterwards though the final act and the finale, it doesn't really reach up to that height, but like as a whole I'm really I like it. I really enjoy what I seen for the show. So hopefully there will be a second season, which I think it can be because from what I heard it's been very popular.
Well, but
in
does it
Japan.
really need a second season?
It doesn't need a second season, but I don't mind, man. I don't mind if it like a new whole set of characters or these characters. I will be there for a ride.
I think that's what it needs to be, is a new set of characters, because that's what you learn about Gridman by the end, is like he's essentially like a cyber cop. He goes from virtual world to virtual world, pursuing bad guys. So he was only in this world because Alexis Carib had taken it over with Akane's help. So he, if we see a Gridman sequel, and I wouldn't be opposed to that, I'd watch it, but he would, it would need to be. I mean, the show would almost need to have a completely different visual style, like be under a different director even, because if it's going to be in a completely different universe, then it couldn't look or feel the same.
Yep. Hopefully though they still have that level of of attention to details and that level of of love to the original, to on the tonkatsu and on the shows that it inspire of. Other than that, I'm pretty happy with like whatever it comes.
A sequel to Gridman, that had never crossed my mind.
I think they will.
So your numbers 2 and 3 are my numbers 10 and 9.
That's right.
But they are both in our favorites, I suppose, of the year.
Yep. That's right.
All right.
For sure, Revue, Starlight, and Gridman have a lot for us to talk about.
Yeah, that's
Whether
true. That's true.
whether it's rich, it's like it's promised. Whether it's rich, it's what it's set out for is depend on us. Like it's not the same for us, but for me they are only ambitious projects
Yeah,
of the year.
I'll agree with that for sure. All right.
All right, I think I know your number two.
Sure. What is it?
No, but go for it. Go for it.
It's Kaze ga Suyoku Fuiteiru,
Yep.
or Run with the Wind. Which is mostly on this high because it manages to develop a cast of 10 characters with seemingly with ease.
Mhm.
It focuses on building their relationships with each other rather than bombarding us with flashbacks or drawing parallels between a character and a trope or a character and an idea. In a way, this to me is the fulfillment of the promise that Revue Starlight originally set out to achieve, because it feels like the characters in Run with the Wind are actually navigating their lives, a complicated set of circumstances, rather than just existing as like ideological counterpoints to the show's central philosophy. And they all want different things out of life, rather than just, I want to be the top star, I want to be the top star, I want to be the top star, top star, top star. So they all feel totally realized and fleshed out. I like that they're college aged, and they're all given unique movement styles and appearances, like even at the facial level, which is one of the things that impresses me most about the series. A lot of anime just does like hair swaps and eye color swaps for characters, and that's how they're differentiated, like visually. But a lot of the characters in this series look totally distinct from one another, which is great. I think that the themes of the show are pretty simple, but they work for me. Self improvement, friendship. It's pretty much those two, to be honest. Although several of the characters are struggling with like self concept or some demon from their past that they're trying to work past, which is also nice. I have a couple gripes with the show. Like the athletic progression of the characters is not really believable, which is a problem in a sports series. But I think their personalities make up for it. And also the CG runners are kind of annoying. But when I first did my preview of the show for the blog, I said you would be a fool not to expect CG crowds and CG runners in 2018. And lo and behold, that's what happened. Yep. So that kind of sucks, honestly. But you know, it wasn't. They weren't going to be absent. They were going to be there. So, really liking the show. Really glad that it's 2-core. It is not perfect by any means, but I do look forward to watching it from week to week. And I can't say that about most series.
Yeah, and it's just halfway done. So we still have like another core for next year.
Yep. I don't know whether or not we'll cover it as we did the first half. We'll see. I certainly want to put it forward as one of the 10 shows we're going to sample, but whether or not it makes it, that I'm not sure about. Because there do seem to be a decent crop of new shows coming out in winter or summer, depending on where you're at.
All right.
And now number one.
Yeah, so basically, I'm thinking at this point we all know that we have the same number one. Yeah. I think that number one consensus was there from the very beginning of the year, and it hasn't been topped.
Yeah, I agree.
So let's just both of us say out like our number one of the year.
Oh, are you gonna fake me out and it's something else?
No, I know. I'm staying with that.
All right, sure.
So, all right. So our number one of the year, the joint number one. It is After the Rain.
After the Rain.
All right.
You go first.
All right. I just it's a become I just repeating myself at this point, but I just love everything about After the Rain. It's had like one of the most like head scratching premise that we have. It tells a love story between a crush between a 7 years old girl to
17.
her
Just want to
17,
clarify.
yeah, to a 45 years old manager of the shop that she work with. But it have too many opportunity to go off the road, but it never have any single wrong step. It just so that like by in the end we don't really see that as a romance anymore. It's more about like the two, they mean to each other. They are like ally to each other. That they try to improve themselves because of each other, but it's not necessarily a love story.
Right.
And
That's something that we talked a lot about while it was airing.
that's right. And I feel that the main character Akira Tachibana is one of the best characters of the year. Even the manager, he he just he feel like a real person to me.
Yeah,
And
he's my favorite.
on top of that, we have like the visual, which is for me it's like top class. It's like the best of the year. They had like on the show don't tell approach. They have like the music, which is just for me it's just classic. I have been downloading that music just after it's available, and I've been listening to it like for a year now, and I still like it. I still enjoy it. They also do the what they call the makeup artist, which is they do a bit of the touch up to the characters, or some like specific scenes, so that it have like all the gorgeous effect, and they are very gorgeous. So like everything from the story, from the character, from the visual level, from the audios levels are on top notch, and it's work together in order to make this show where like it all hold up all together. So for me, it's deserve to be like the top show of the year.
Well, the thing I find most interesting about it is that people can approach it from different angles and still
Get something out of it.
feel like it's excellent.
Mhm.
Because there was a bunch of stuff you said just now that I didn't totally agree with, or that I would outright disagree
Mhm.
with.
Right.
But it's still my favorite series of the year.
Yeah.
And it has been from the moment probably that episode like 3 or something came out. Like I do feel as though it's a love story through and through.
Mhm.
I certainly do think it leans more towards drama than romance towards the end, but I feel the characters' affection for one another, even as they decide to go their separate ways. I actually don't think very very highly of the music. I think it's overbearing. Um,
Right.
um, and the comment that like the show could have stepped foot, like it could have stepped off the track at many different points. I was like, as I was watching, I wanted it to go off the rails a little bit.
Ooh.
In not in terms of production or anything like that, but I wanted to see how the characters' relationship would evolve if they were to take an inappropriate step.
Yeah. So
But that
you want it to be more crazy.
uh
To
yeah, or to engage in its sensuality a little bit more.
Yep.
That was one of the strongest points of the show for me, was that even though it was like, rated T or whatever, PG-13, whatever you want to call it, it still very clearly managed to get across the fact that this was like a deep physical attraction that Akira had for the manager. Um, and that's pretty uncommon in anime, which is usually either just has like boobs flying in your face, or is totally prude, and there's no middle ground. But I think they managed to find it with this show, which is necessary, I think, for a romance series. there has to be that sort of attraction to it, that sort of element to the way that the characters see one another and think about one another. And I think that came through in this show in a way that not a lot of other anime manages. But at the same time, it also frames their relationship very delicately, because the manager is someone who's very very aware about that sort of thing, and he's aware of who he is and also his failings, and just he's very conflicted, and but he's also funny. Like he's my favorite character of the year. There are just so many dimensions to his personality, like his overactive imagination when Akira is first like coming on to him a little bit and like confessing her love for him. He's like constantly thinking of it as a prank, or just all of that stems from his negative self-image, but at the same time it's funny. Like his vision of everyone laughing at him, or the way that he has to like duck behind a corner because he hears his employees talking about him, or the way he apologizes whenever like a plate crashes in the background as he's talking to some customers, like the shitsure shimashita, the running gag from the first couple of episodes where people were constantly apologizing for that stuff. Like every dimension that I think the show could have covered, from like romance to humor to drama, it's all present, and it looks very nice as well. So
do you have any favorite scenes from the show?
Yes,
can you pick out one?
Yes, from episode 5.
All right, which one is that?
That's the moment where they've been on their date, and Akira envisions herself running to catch up to the manager after he's crossed over like the yellow line at the train station.
Yep.
And then it feels so like vivid and so real, and then all of a sudden the show yanks you back and you realize that it's all just in her mind's eye. And the only reason that scene has so much impact, the only reason it's possible, is because the strength of her like affection for him and her lust for him is so clear. Otherwise it wouldn't come across the way that it did. So that's my favorite. How about you?
My favorite would be the hug scenes where
episode 7.
Like episode 7, where he finally hugged her. We have a scene of the two umbrellas like fallen on top of each other. I just love that scene so much.
Why? Because of what it implies, like sexually.
Yeah. It's not sexually. It just it for me it's more like sensitively.
What, the umbrellas collapsing on top of each other?
Yeah, I just think that there's a lot of like you say like sensual in there, and there's a lot of it's just so great. That for me it's just so great. Even like before in episode 2 or 3, when they have ice cream, when they have like some sort of buffet or something, and when she tried to confess her love to him, and we see like some cherry on top just keep like falling down the ice cream.
Yeah, I actually rewatched the first few episodes recently. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, and for me, like on these small moments, they just so great. They just so sensual and so like they just so in the moment. They speak very well to the whole moment.
Yeah, that's true. And the show transitions too to there's like the whole second half, or maybe the last third. I don't know.
Yep.
But it becomes more about the manager's character and about like the gaps in Akira's life that have perhaps prompted her to form this attraction. What the two of them are missing as human beings. And it as it moves in that direction, it kind of takes on a second life.
Yep.
Which is interesting. It wasn't always my favorite thing to see the show move away from the part of itself that I like the most. But I like it never felt like it put a foot too wrong.
All right.
I do have some reservations about like endorsing every single episode and every single like detour that it takes, but it's nevertheless it's still like a very very strong production.
Yeah. Well, I think both of us will agree that one of the best thing about the show is the chemistry between the two main characters.
Yeah, and that's
Because
how the romance anime ought to be judged. Like, how much are you rooting for the romantic success of the characters? For me, with this show, it was like more than anything.
that is exactly right, and that comes to the point where whenever they have a time together, it's about to be a special. It's about to have like a special moment together.
Yeah, well put.
Yep. So yep, this is my anime of the year, and I think it will be there on our top anime of the decade.
Maybe not for me. That's what I was alluding to earlier.
Yep.
We'll see. You know, this I did rewatch the the first 3 episodes recently, and
Yep.
I had a lot of fun with them. So it has some rewatch value, which is important.
Yep.
So maybe in 12 months I'll feel differently, but for right now I don't know if it'll make that sort of like big gigantic list. However, I do think that it was clearly the best of this year, and I'm very glad I watched it, and I think it's a great anime.
All right. So that concludes our top 10 anime of the year 2018. For the next podcast, we will do the preview of the 10 shows for the next seasons.
Oh, we are doing that.
Oh, sorry. So what we're gonna do on for the next week? Sorry.
No, I
Sorry,
mean,
guys, just
you've said it. You said it. I guess we're doing it.
All right. So
we're also doing a couple of movies. Remember, we picked a couple films
right.
to review.
Yep, and we're gonna pick 2 classic movies that we're gonna watch and review. They're gonna be exciting. You want us to reveal the title of the movies?
Sure, why not?
Alright, so one of them is the cult classics, Angel X, and the other one is another cult classics, Night of the Galactic Road. Is that the name?
Yeah, Night on the Galactic Railroad, I think.
Yep.
They're both from 1985.
And they both really good. So
I haven't seen them, so I can't say whether that's true or not. But
I'm not the one who say that either because I haven't seen those. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to that.
We're gonna find out whether they're any good or not, and we're gonna tell you guys about it.
That's right, and maybe another volume of Flower of Evil as well.
Yeah, I think we're planning on doing that too. We gotta get through that.
All right, so for all of you who've been listening to this podcast, thank you for listening to the end. Happy New Year and happy just have a fun holiday.
Same for me. See you in 2019, everybody.
Yep, see you in 2019.